Our next candidate is Democratic candidate Randy Credico.
Hi.
If I pronounce your name correctly?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, good.
Hello, how are you?
Hello.
Randy Credico, that's it. It's perfect. You're the first person to get that right.
Credico, they go Credico?
Credico, Credico, you know, it's, they're all over the map with it, but you got it right.
Good.
This
I
is
figured it was like credit card.
Well, it is. It is like a credit card. I owe a lot of money, you know? Big credit card debts.
So you have said in the past that you think that the Board of Education, in fact, should have artists and filmmakers and theater directors on it. Why?
Well, because why not? You know, look who you have right now. You have, well, with the education department, you got this guy, Walcott, and he's a tool of the, whatever. He's a tool of the, you know, of like the special interests. You need people in there like Cornel West, I would have as the head of the education department. That's who you need. You need some creative people in there. You have such stodgy, dull people that are running these departments, and they're all coming from the private sector. And so we need to replace that with people that have energy, that have ideas, that have a creative background like me, all right? I have a creative background. I've been in show business for 40 years. 40 years in show business. I started out in '72 when I was 18 years old. You know, I do impressions.
I noticed that you played with red buttons in Reno on your website, for instance.
How did you know that?
I studied.
I did play with red buttons, and it's because of red buttons that I'm even in New York. I was working with him and a fellow by the name of he was in those Preston Sturges films. Can't think of his name right now, but he was a big Keno player. But Red and I were very close. He's an old...
Not Harold Lloyd.
Huh? Not Harold, no, not Harold Lloyd. No. Ishka Bibble. No, so it was Eddie Bracken. Eddie Bracken, okay? Great guy, very conservative. He was very close with Reagan. Reagan and Bracken and Nancy Reagan loved each other, and they used to have all these great conversations, and Red would get all upset because he and I were watching the, yes, I do a lot of them. You haven't seen nothing yet. We got to liven this place up a little bit, man. You know, after
I'm waiting
you're
for
the
Bloomberg.
only two who are not running for mayor in this city are sitting right here. All right. So, but Red and I were watching the convention here in 1980 when it was Jim Acosta against Ted Kennedy, and that speech really inspired Red and me, right? We're watching. Ted Kennedy said, "And for those whose cares have been our concern, the work goes on. The cause endures, the hope still lives, and the dream shall never die." So Red and I were, you remember that speech? Red and I were like, wow. And then a couple of months later, Reagan won. And Red and I went out and got drunk at a place called La Fonda, a Mexican restaurant in Reno. Drank a lot of margaritas. Great guy. And he says, well, let's see if they pull the rope, the Reagan administration. Then I saw him at George Burns's, I'm a big name dropper today, George Burns's 90th birthday party where he had the worst cigars on the cake. 90th birthday, he had the worst cigars. And I said, Red, did they pull the rope? He said, yes, they pulled the rope. And so, but he said, go to New York. So I came to New York City in 1980. I was just doing impressions back then, political impressions. I was doing Nixon and that kind of stuff. And so I did a lot of great showbiz impressions too, like Jack Nicholson. I did him. You know what I mean? Because I know you guys want to hear the truth tonight. All right.
Now, I'm hesitant to cut you off. However,
come on, I'm on a roll. You know what I mean?
What about support of the schools?
I understand.
All right, let's go to the schools.
No, but it seems like you are a person probably who, even as a kid, if I could imagine, didn't need much push to express your creativity.
No. Well, you know, my father, I grew up, that's true.
But let me go on with my
ahead.
question, if I might, just for a second. Well, I mean, we're now spending 1.5% of our education budget on all the theater, dance, music, paintings, film, all of it. What should that be?
What it should be, what are our priorities here first? There are 57,000 homeless people in New York City, all right? There are 22,000 homeless children in New York City. That's the conversation I first think about. There are 60,000 people in jails in New York State. Rikers is a joke. I've been arrested 6 times over at Occupy Wall Street and fighting against stop and frisk. And the arts, of course, are very important. We have to have it. We must subsidize, but not by raising money the way we're doing it with these Mickey Mouse lotto games, raising money with cigarette taxes. It all is a regressive tax plan that we have. If we were to tax Wall Street, a 0.5% sales tax, we could fund everything in the city. 0.5%, and no one else. That's it. And it's something that's picking up steam around the country. Taxing Wall Street. They're not paying their fair share of taxes. They're living a great life down there. And believe me, they're bankrolling a lot of the campaigns that you're seeing. Not mine. They won't give me a nickel, all right? So they're bankrolling the campaigns. You got guys like Al D'Amato, who's down there flacking for the et cetera, you know? So you got him. And so they're getting the money. And you got a lot of Democrats that are really like old, what they used to call them, dough-faced Democrats from the 1850s. They're really like centrists, you know what I mean? They're centrist Democrats. We need a real loud progressive voice right now. After 20 years of thuggish rule by Giuliani and 12 years of imperial rule by a modern-day Louis Napoleon Bonaparte, all right? The hospitalization of this city, all right? And they still are gutting programs that are, I mean, look, I ran a 501c3, the William Moses Kuntsler Fund for Racial Justice for 15 years at the same time that I was in show business. So I know how important it is to get funding, how difficult it is. And I got 5 minutes left.
No, that means we have 5 minutes.
Oh, you have 5 minutes left. But don't you want to say something,
well,
though?
you're talking to my 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
And I'm wondering whether you think that we should find more funding for comedy clubs.
Yeah, I could use the work. I got my first residual in like 2 months. Look at this, from doing a show called My Name is Earl. This is my big residual check from AFTRA, $23, all right?
Yes.
But
I know we're members of AFTRA.
I know members. It's a fine union. But conservative, though, right? But I must tell you, it's a SAG, actually. But I must tell you that there's plenty of money out there, and we should have, with all due respect to Columbia University, they're not paying their fair share of taxes with some of the buildings. Well, I'm serious. It's great that they're well endowed here, all right? But, there are some things that they have. There are some buildings that they have that, they may want to pay some taxes on. And the same with NYU. I'm sorry, really. But I know when you see candidates here, when the issue is parochial, the candidates are Pinocchio, all right? They will say whatever they have to say to mollify the crowd. I am very blunt, all right? And I will say exactly what's on my mind. We could have a progressive real estate tax in this city. I'm sorry, you want to get to something else.
Randy,
I had this crowd eating out of my hands until I mentioned Columbia. I was joking about that. All right.
There have actually been comedians who have run for political office and won in other parts of the world. I think Reykjavik has one or had one. The big problem they ran into is that they then had to deal with real life government. And what you're saying is, I think you're the first person who might very well commit to a full 1% for the arts of all of the people who are here. All the others have kind of, I'm not ready to make a commitment, but.
Well, I am. I'm absolutely. I'm a performer. I know how important it is to have. France, leading up to their revolution, they suppressed all of the art out there. It got through, and seriously, they didn't want Voltaire. All of that stuff was suppressed. All right, you need to have the expression of art in all forms. All forms. We don't want what they had in Germany, where they didn't give money to Fritz Lang, but they gave money to Emil Jannings. I'm not talking about that. It can get dangerous too.
Emil Jannings was a good actor.
He was a good actor, but he was also a pro.
Yes. Anyway, the question is,
I commit to 2%.
Do you really think that you're
2%? All right.
All right.
2.
And for those keeping score, that's $1.4 billion.
Well, we need it. We need to. My God, it's been a nightmare. I was around in the 60s. I used to listen to you on WBAI, and I was around in the 60s.
You were up
70s.
that late?
I was on David Rothenberg's show yesterday, by the way, or Saturday. So being on the couch next to you, since I didn't get the Johnny Carson couch, I did Carson's show, and I didn't get the couch, all right? But I got the couch today, and this is really exciting for me to get the couch, because I'm a big fan of yours. And by the way, how come I'm not on Brian Lair's show?
You're asking me why
we're giving money. We are taxpayers are giving money to the Brian Lair show, right? Well, why not have me on?
I can't answer that
All right,
question.
well-
I have my own problems.
I know. Well, I'm trying to get on your show too, you know? I wasn't going to ask you that.
But we will be discussing what all the candidates said on my show in a few days.
Oh, yeah?
And I suspect we'll have one or two little clips from your visit here.
Can I do my Louis Arm? Can I do my, listen, can I close since I got 1 minute left? I got to close with like Louis Armstrong or something, right?
Go ahead.
Would you like that, folks, huh?
A man who lived in Queens for many
Well,
years.
Louis Armstrong buried out in Brooklyn, isn't he? Huh? He's not buried out in Brooklyn. But anyway, my father owned a huge nightclub. He ran it in Ontario, California. Louis Armstrong worked there. Bobby Darin worked there. Stuff Smith, Ray Charles, everyone, James Brown. And I grew up watching that. And so that was really my first voice. Louis would be in the back room. He came to the house. We had barbecues, and he'd be smoking what he called weeds. You know, it was weeds. He was a big pot smoker. I smoked pot occasionally, too, all right?
But you didn't inhale.
I inhale.
Oh.
I love it, man. It's much better than drinking, all right? But here it is.
Give me a kiss to build a dream on, and my imagination will live upon that kiss.
How was that, all right?
Great,
Randy Credico, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good
Pleasure.
luck.
Thank you. Thank you. What a crowd. What a crowd. What a crowd.